morning here with Beyond the Sensex, a show that's all about the mid-cap, small-cap side of the market. It's the start of a brand new week. Of course, we had a lot of bad news to deal with over the weekend. But now let me quickly go across and say hi to our guest on the show today. Malinath Madineni of Arthanan Financial Services joins us in the Worli studios right here. Thanks very much, Malinath, for joining us on the show today. We're seeing a decent rally take place in the mid-cap space right now. Earnings season continuing. Given all that we're seeing around us, how are you viewing, in particular, the broad markets now?
Markets, frankly, they'll be lackluster for the next 2 days till the expiry goes through. Once the expiry is through, I think markets might see a little bit uptrend because the uncertainties that were prevailing in the market for the last few weeks are through, and we should see a market bouncing back to some extent. But more we would see the markets between 4,000 and 4,500 range on the Nifty, because beyond that we are seeing a little bit of selling pressure coming from the foreign institutional.
So speaking of the expiry, over the past several sessions consistently we've seen a premium on both the July Nifty futures, also the August futures. So does that give you any indication that perhaps the worst is behind us and we're trying to take a U-turn here?
Exactly. The premium shows that most of the short covering is totally over, and we are seeing more of buying interest coming into the market. Post expiry, I think this trend should continue, and the uptrend will move on.
Okay, all right. Let's quickly get you some stock-specific action now in terms of the buzzers in the mid-cap space, and these are largely news-related plays. Let's start with Sunil Hi-Tech. Stock's doing extremely well, 6.5% up with the pretty decent volumes, and the reason being they have won about 3 orders worth 650 crore rupees, and that takes their order book to about 1,300 crore rupees. So that's Sunil Hi-Tech for you. Volumes are quite decent, about 1,50,000 shares traded versus the 30-day average, which is just around 18,000 shares. So that's the first one on the list. Then there is Nucleus Software, which has also made a decent 6% move for itself. Volumes, however, on Nucleus Software quite muted, just about 2,100 shares traded, whereas the average is about 20,000 shares. And the trigger here is that they've won a deal with Prudential, and this is for Prudential's consumer business in Vietnam. So that's keeping a lot of interest going on the stock. Moving on next to Grade Offshore, they've come out with a contract win in the engineering services space. It's a small contract, not too big, about 234 crores, but nevertheless that has led to some positive action on Grade Offshore. Stock is up about 2%. Two quick comments coming in from the results side. There is Shipping Corporation of India, which is up 2%. Net profits have actually moved up about 30-35% for Shipping Corp, and that's keeping the interest going on that stock. But Eicher Motors hasn't had it that good. Now, they've seen a dip in profits, about 44% fall year-on-year in quarterly profits. And Eicher has been really quiet. It's just managed to get into green territory, but it's up not even a rupee, just about 60-odd paise up in green territory right now. Malinath, I'll quickly come to you now. We have seen most of the results season pass. We're about 3/4 of our way through. In terms of the mid-cap performance, mid-cap market, what is it that you're reading? What's the writing looking like?
Frankly, still people are struck which they have bought, say, in December, Jan levels. They are not able to get out of the mid-caps, and it will take some time before people really come out of those stocks. Since the results, actually speaking, the mid-cap IT was good, but compared to others, whereas the banking mid-caps, the performances were really bad. Compared, say, Vijaya Bank or any public sector bank, they were really bad. So it would take some time before these mid-caps start moving up. Initially, the rally would start off with the frontline stocks, and later we should see a mid-cap rally coming.
If you were to go out there and take a call based on the numbers that one has seen in this quarter, is there any particular vertical in the mid-cap space or any particular idea, even a stock idea for that matter, where you see great value and good promising business potential now?
Frankly speaking, there are some mid-caps, especially in the IT space, like Infotech Enterprises, which came up with excellent numbers, and that looks promising for us. And Sasken Communication, even that came up with very good numbers, and we are very positive on that stock. Maybe second quarter results of Sasken may be a little muted, but going ahead, we see a good performance from that company.
Okay, quick comment also on the capital goods space. It's of course one of the good performing pockets of the market in today's action in specific. We saw BHEL, which finally came out, and it was heartening to note it seems to be back in focus. But what about some of the smaller capital goods and engineering plays, smaller stories? How are you reading the space now? Because it was so badly battered down.
Like smaller players in mid-cap, I would see more of players who are like specific niche players, especially in the renewable energy segment. Those should be doing well, and in some
for example, when you say
for example, if you take like Praj Industries or a Suzlon Energy, these stocks looks quite good. They should perform quite well in this space.
Okay. Malinath, a comment on metals also, because metals seems to be confusing which way the cycle is going right now. Of course, for steel, we still don't know whether manufacturers can actually go and increase prices when the moratorium on prices actually ends. How are you viewing metals for the moment?
The ferrous metal side, it looks quite good. I think steel players will continue to do well. The prices, maybe the government had asked them to hold on for some time, but it can't happen. They have to follow with the global market trends, and I think steel sector would continue to do well in the coming quarters also. Only the pressure is on the raw material front. I think that will be offset with the increase in prices.
Okay, all right. Still holding up about 53 odd points on the Sensex, 20 odd points on the Nifty, not going really anywhere, and the broad markets also continue to build on their rally. 1.5% up on the small cap index, and the mid cap index is rising by almost 1%. Malinath, just a quick question on the IPO, ongoing IPO, Newtech. We'll try and get the management also in just a bit on the show. But it's a telecom service provider, infrastructure vendor basically, and I think they're into active and passive, all kinds of infrastructure services. How are you reading this? Because the past couple of IPOs that actually came into the market in terms of subscription, in terms of the listing gains, pretty much damn squib. So how are you reading Newtech?
Coming in this kind of a market itself shows their confidence on their performance, and the company is really doing well, and the customer base, especially the who's who of telecom industry, is there with them. So that is their confidence, and I think the issue should sail through easily, and the company looks very attractive at these levels.
Okay. What about telecom otherwise on the whole? I mean, we've seen almost all the major results that there were to be seen. If you were to take a call on telecom overall, are there any other interesting stories or interesting pockets which you would look at?
Like Bharti Airtel's results itself shows like the subscriber base is growing, and ARPU levels are holding on, not much of a fall in the ARPU levels. This shows that telecom companies are going to do well for the next few quarters. And consolidation in industry is also going to happen, where we saw a spice thing going on, and those news-based stories would come in, and the telecom industry looks quite good.
Okay, so that's a thumbs up on telecom from our guest here. Quick look at some of the other top volume buzzers in the mid-cap space. Just a couple of pointers here. The fertilizer space continues to rally, and we've seen this kind of a rally in the past several sessions now. So take a look at Coromandel on your screens. The stock is up almost 10%. Then you have RCF, which is also moving up 7.5% or so. So the entire space, be it Chambal, it's up buzzing in green territory. Any reasons particularly that you can cite for this fertilizer rally?
If you see across the agri sector, the results, the first quarter results were quite good. Especially Coromandel saw more than 100% growth in its net, and even others like United Phosphorus put up a very good show in the last 2 days. So the results are coming quite good.
Okay.
Monsoons maybe was not great in the first few months, but now the peninsula, we saw a good rainfall in the last few days, and I think monsoon is also picking up, and this should be a good boost to the agri sector as a whole.
Okay, monsoon surely picking up, at least in Mumbai, we can vouch for that. Still holding up at roughly the same levels on both the frontliners and the mid-cap, small-cap space. The mid-cap index is up about 1%, and the small-cap index is now building on a decent rally, about 1.5% up on the small-cap space. The other area in the market which actually catches the eye is sugar. Again, we've seen a run come in over the last couple of sessions as well. Sugar as a space has been doing well. Balrampur Chini again, one of the big winners in today's action. It's moving up on good volumes as well. I'll quickly toss the space to you. We did hear from one of the officials in the sugar ministry on Friday itself saying that there will be no doing away with the regulated market mechanism, at least for now. But sugar, is it a cyclical thing? What are we looking at?
I think the downtrend for the sugar industry is almost through. We saw the sugar companies going through a rough patch in the last 1 year, It's being a cyclic in the industry. I think the uptrend has started, and there's been quite a bit of export growth that has been seen in the last few quarters. So that's a big push for the sugar industry.
Okay, all right. So that's one space. And with that, I will also have to thank you. Thanks very much, Malinath, for joining us on the show today. We're completely out of time, but leaving the markets now cooling off a little bit, just about 34 points up on the Sensex. More figures coming out of Kotak Mahindra Bank. We'll get you all the details in News at Noon, which comes up after this break. Thanks for watching.